Welcome to the Deep Dive. We sift through stacks of sources, research, you name it, to bring you the core insights. Today, let's talk about wealth. We tend to picture it as, big bank accounts, fancy cars, huge houses.
The usual stuff, mansions. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what if real wealth, the kind that supports everything else, is actually much, much simpler? Something we probably don't even notice most days until it's maybe threatened.
That's a really crucial point because it is about those absolute basics. And when they're gone, suddenly all that other stuff, the cars, the houses, the designer things, they just become, meaningless, don't they? We're talking about the absolute foundation, the bedrock.
Precisely. And that's what we're diving into today. We're looking at a really profound but surprisingly short chapter from the Quran, Surat Al-Quraisy. It's only 4 verses long.
Tiny, yeah.
But it packs an incredible punch. It really gets to the heart of gratitude, security, divine provision, themes that are just as relevant now as they were thousands of years ago.
And what's really fascinating, something a lot of people might not realize, is that many scholars see this Surah Al-Quraisy not really as a standalone chapter.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, they view it as a direct continuation, almost like the conclusion to the surah right before it, Surah Al-Fil.
Ah, the chapter of the elephant.
Exactly. So it's not just separate verses. It's like one complete story told in 2 parts. First, in Al-Fil, Allah describes this incredible event, removing this massive threat, this invading army.
Abraha's army. Right.
That's the one. And then immediately after, in Al-Quraysh, he details the blessings that came because of that intervention. It's this really dramatic shift from, divine power crushing an enemy to divine grace being bestowed. It's all connected.
So it's like problem, solution, and then the what next.
Yeah.
The consequences and the expectation. Okay, so our mission today is to really dig into these verses. We want to get the historical context, unpack some of the really intricate
linguistic nuances, yeah. With so much depth.
Exactly. And figure out the timeless lessons for us today. We're going to look especially at why 2 specific blessings get highlighted above everything else and what that really means for you listening in your own life.
It definitely forces a reevaluation, I think. Puts things into perspective.
Okay, so to really grasp Al-Quraysh, we absolutely have to start with Al-Fil. That story is the foundation. Can you just quickly remind us of what happened with Abraham and his elephant army?
Sure. Surah Al-Fil tells this incredible story of Abraham. He was this powerful Yemeni king, very ambitious, maybe a bit arrogant, and he was jealous of Mecca, of the Kaaba, drawing all the pilgrims, so he decided he was going to destroy it. He gathered this huge army, unlike anything seen before in Arabia, including war elephants.
Elephants in Arabia, that was terrifying.
Absolutely terrifying, unprecedented, and his goal was clear. Demolish the Kaaba. It seemed unstoppable. The Meccans, the Quraysh, had no way to defend against this. But then Allah intervened. Miraculously. It was such a huge event that the year became known as the Year of the Elephant.
Which was the year Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was born, right?
Very same year. So this divine protection wasn't just a historical blip. It fundamentally changed things for the region and massively boosted the status of the Quraysh tribe.
And the way Allah intervened, it wasn't a typical battle, was it? That's what's so striking. It shows his power isn't limited to conventional armies.
Not at all. And the sources really emphasize this. Allah's armies can be literally anything he chooses. It could be a powerful wind, like the one that scattered the enemy camps at the Battle of Azab.
Right, I remember that. Blew out their fires, caused chaos.
Exactly. Or it could be angels, unseen forces fighting alongside believers. Or, in this absolutely astounding case in Surah Al-Fil, it was birds. Just flocks of birds.
Birds against elephants.
Birds against elephants and soldiers. It highlights a key theological point. Nobody knows the full extent of Allah's forces except him. His power is limitless, far beyond our understanding of military might. The greatest power can come from the most unexpected, seemingly weakest source.
And the language used to describe how the birds attacked is fascinating too. The word tarmihim, they pelted them. There's something specific about the grammar there, isn't there?
There is. It's incredibly subtle but powerful. Tarmihim is actually in the present tense, the mudari form in Arabic, even though the event happened in the past.
Why do that? Why use the present tense for a past event?
It's a deliberate choice. It suggests the pelting wasn't just a single volley. It was continuous, repetitive, like a constant barrage. Imagine relentless rain just hitting them again and again and again, an inescapable storm.
Wow, constant bombardment.
And more than that, the root word rama doesn't just mean to throw. It means to throw from a distance with a specific, targeted aim.
So not just random dropping.
Exactly. It implies each pebble was like a tiny guided missile hitting precisely where intended. And falling from a great height, they'd gain acceleration, hitting with incredible force. Seemingly harmless pebbles turn into lethal projectiles.
Guided missiles made of pebbles.
Mm.
That's incredible. And what were these pebbles? The word used is sigil. What does that tell us?
Sigil is another fascinating word. It seems to have Persian origins, from sangil, which basically means stones or pebbles made from sand or clay, baked hard by heat or sun.
So essentially,
Yeah.
baked mud.
Dust. Pretty much baked clay or hard mud. And that's the incredible irony, isn't it? Allah uses these weak, insignificant bits of earth to destroy this mighty army with its war elephants. It completely flips our human understanding of power and weakness. He uses the humble to overcome the arrogant.
And the effect of these pebbles, it sounds horrific.
It was absolutely devastating. Our sources describe how when these pebbles hit, they penetrated flesh, causing immediate swelling, burning sensations, almost like an infection setting in instantly.
Goodness.
Some classical scholars even suggest this led to the first major epidemic or plague known among the Arabs, spreading from the rotting corpses. It was like a divinely orchestrated biological attack, completely beyond their comprehension.
That's chilling.
And to really understand the force, some accounts mention each bird carried 3 pebbles, 1 in its beak, 2 in its claws, and these tiny stones hit with such force they could apparently pierce a soldier's helmet and skull, the hardest bone, and exit out the other side.
Penetrate a skull. That's terrifying force.
It conveys complete, inescapable annihilation. There was no defense.
The imagery is incredibly graphic, but it makes the point absolutely clear. And the surah ends with another powerful image. Kasfin makul. Like chewed up straw. What does that add?
Kasfin makul. It's such a potent phrase. Asfin refers to things like withered leaves, dry stalks of straw, things that are brittle, worthless, easily scattered by the wind, utterly fragile.
Okay, weak and useless.
And makul means something that's been eaten, chewed up, ground down.
So like leftover bits after something's been devoured.
Exactly. The combined image is stark. Allah transformed that proud, mighty army into something like the mangled, worthless bits an animal spits out after chewing thoroughly. It's an image of total degradation, helplessness, and worthlessness. The graphic language is intentional, driving home the severity of their destruction and humiliation.
A complete reversal of their perceived power.
Completely. And, there's also a beauty in the surah's rhythm and rhyme. The words flow, making it memorable, even for children. It embeds the story deep in the collective memory.
So Surah Al-Fi sets the stage. Allah shows his absolute power, protects the Kaaba, protects his future messenger, and elevates the Quraysh.
Absolutely. It was a public, undeniable display of divine might. It sent a message across Arabia. Don't mess with the Kaaba or its custodians.
Yeah.
And critically, yes, it hugely boosted the respect, even fear other tribes had for the Quraysh. They were clearly under divine protection. This reverence became key to their survival.
Okay, with that firmly established, let's pivot to Surah Al-Quraisy itself.
Yeah.
It starts, Lilafi Quraysh. That first letter, the lam, it's apparently not straightforward. Scholars have different takes.
They do. That initial lam is really packed with meaning. The grammarians from Basra, for example, saw it as a lam indicating purpose or reason, lam al-talil, meaning for the sake of Quraysh's ilaf, or because of their ilaf. So in this view, Allah destroying Abraha's army was done specifically for the Quraysh to ensure their safety, their trade, their convenience, their way of life could continue. It connects directly back to Al-Fil.
So Allah's saying, I did that huge thing for you. That's quite a direct statement of favor.
It is, but then the Kufa grammarians had a slightly different angle. They interpreted it as a lam expressing amazement, lam ala jab.
Amazement. How so?
Their reading is more like, how amazing it is, the ilaf of Quraysh, or how wondrously Allah granted ilaf to Quraysh. It shifts the focus from the reason to the wonder of it. Despite the Quraysh having strayed into idol worship, despite their societal issues, Allah still granted them this profound favor, this security and unity.
So it highlights Allah's mercy and patience, even when they weren't fully deserving.
Exactly. It emphasizes his immense compassion, bestowing blessings perhaps to encourage them back towards him. It's a marvel at his grace.
Interesting. Two different angles, purpose versus amazement. Is there a third view?
Well, a related interpretation is that the lamb simply points to the ultimate goal of these blessings, that the sole purpose of granting them safety and convenience was to make them grateful, to soften their hearts so they would turn to worship him alone. All the worldly ease was meant to free them up for their spiritual duty.
Okay, that makes sense. Divine gifts aimed at achieving a divine purpose. Now, the word ilaf itself, you mentioned softening, affection. Can you unpack that a bit more? It seems quite specific.
It is. Ilaf comes from the root alafa, meaning affection, familiarity, a heart inclined towards something. But sources differentiate it from a similar word, talif.
What's the difference?
Talif suggests a gradual softening, something that happens over time. Ilaf, however, implies an immediate softening, a sudden shift. The idea is that the blessings given to Quraysh, especially the dramatic saving of the Kaaba, were so overwhelming, so undeniable, that their hearts should have softened instantly towards Allah in gratitude.
Ah, so it wasn't meant to be a slow realization, but an immediate response.
That seems to be the implication. An immediate turning of the heart was expected given the scale of the favor. It sets a high bar for recognizing blessings, doesn't it?
It really does. We get blessings constantly and often take our time appreciating them, if at all.
And there's another layer to ilaf. It also relates to covenants, agreements, and familiarity in terms of interactions. By protecting the Kaaba and the Quraysh, Allah also preserved their vital trade networks and agreements.
The practical side.
Yes. If Abraha had succeeded, Mecca would be gone, and so would the trade agreements that were their economic lifeline. So ilaf covers both that internal softening of the heart and the external security of their essential commercial pacts and relationships. It's about unity and security on multiple levels.
Okay, heart softening and trade agreements.
Got it.
Now, the name Quraysh itself is not just a tribal name. It apparently carries layers of meaning reflecting their status.
Absolutely. The name Quraysh is incredibly rich. Firstly, it comes from the root Quraysh, which means to gather or to bring together.
Like gathering people.
Exactly. It points to their origins. They weren't one single lineage initially, but a collection of different clans and families who gathered and unified in Mecca, forming a powerful entity. That unity was key to their strength.
So their name reflects their unification. What else?
Quraysh can also refer to a powerful sea creature. Different accounts say maybe a whale, maybe a huge shark, or even an octopus. But the key characteristic is that it's a dominant predator. It eats but isn't eaten. It overpowers but isn't overpowered.
A top predator image for a desert tribe.
It sounds strange, but the metaphor was understood. It signified the Quraysh's strength, dominance, and their respected, almost untouchable status among the other Arab tribes. They were seen as formidable, commanding respect, and even fear.
So powerful and unified. Any other meanings? I heard something about the grammatical form.
Yes, that's a fascinating linguistic point. Quraysh is technically a diminutive form of Quraysh. Usually diminutive means smaller, lesser. But in Arabic, sometimes a diminutive form is used ironically to emphasize greatness.
Like calling a huge guy tiny.
Precisely. It's like saying that mighty little tribe, where the little actually underscores their true significance and power. It's a subtle way of magnifying their status.
Clever. And one more meaning related to their work.
Yes, the fourth meaning of Quraysh is to earn, to acquire, or to work hard. This points directly to their main activity, trade. Their constant travels, their commercial enterprise, their hard work in acquiring goods and wealth.
So gathering, dominance, magnified status, and hard work. It all paints a picture.
It really does. And the fact that Allah specifically names them, the Quraysh, in the Quran, which he rarely does for tribes, shows their unique standing and his special favor largely linked to their role as custodians of his house, the Kaaba.
Okay, this detailed background on Al-Fil and the meaning packed into Li'alafi Quraysh really sets the stage for the core message.
Yeah.
The blessings of food and safety. These seem so basic, almost mundane. Why are these two singled out?
They seem basic to us, perhaps, because many of us enjoy them regularly. But for the Quraysh in Mecca, they were anything but mundane. They were absolutely essential for survival. Remember, Mecca was barren. No farming, no natural resources to speak of.
Right, a desert valley.
Completely dependent on trade. And they had these major organized trade journeys. In winter, they went south to Yemen, warmer climate, good for spices, grains, textiles. In summer, they traveled north to Sham, the region we now know as Palestine, Jordan, Lebanon, Syria. That was for fruits, oils, other goods. These weren't just about getting rich. They were about getting food, getting the absolute necessities. Without these journeys, they literally couldn't survive in Mecca.
So trade wasn't a luxury. It was life support. And these journeys were long, across dangerous lands.
Hmm.
Yet the Suda emphasizes their safety. How are they so safe in such a perilous environment?
But that's the miraculous part. Ancient Arabia was notoriously dangerous for travelers. Bandits, tribal warfare, scarcity of resources. Caravans were prime targets. Yet the Quraysh traveled these vast distances to Yemen and Sham and returned safely, consistently.
Why? What gave them this immunity?
It goes back to what we discussed. Their status as custodians of the Kaaba massively amplified after Allah's destruction of Abraha's army. Other tribes held them in awe and, frankly, in fear.
Fear of divine retribution.
Exactly. Harming the Quraysh, the people clearly protected by the Lord of the Kaaba, was seen as incredibly risky, inviting disaster upon oneself. Their connection to the Kaaba was like a shield. Often simply declaring we are Quraysh was enough to guarantee safe passage. It was an extraordinary privilege born from divine favor.
An invisible shield. Incredible. So this brings us to the core point. Food and safety. Why are these two presented as the absolute pinnacle of blessings?
Because, according to the scholars delving into this, they are the most fundamental. Food eliminates hunger, ensuring physical survival. Safety eliminates fear, ensuring psychological and social stability. Without these two, absolutely everything else collapses.
Everything, like even vast wealth.
Think about it. If you're starving or if you're terrified for your life every second, does $1 billion matter? Does a fancy car matter? Do designer clothes matter? No. All luxury, all comfort, all higher pursuits become utterly meaningless if your basic survival and security are threatened. They are the non-negotiable foundation.
So all our other achievements are just layers built on top of that foundation. If it cracks, the whole thing crumbles.
Precisely. And the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, captured this perfectly in a famous hadith. He said something along the lines of, whoever wakes up secure in his home, healthy in his body, and has enough food for the day, it's as if the entire world has been gathered for him.
Wow. As if the entire world has been gathered for him.
Just from those three things: safety, health, and food for the day.
It completely reframes wealth, doesn't it? True abundance, true richness lies in having these fundamental needs met, not in endless accumulation. Possessing these is like possessing the world.
That really hits home. It makes you realize how much most of us already have, even when we feel like we're lacking. And we see this principle in action everywhere, right?
Absolutely. Take the military, for instance. Highly trained soldiers, advanced weapons.
Yeah.
But what happens if their supply lines are cut, if they run out of food?
They can't function. Morale plummets. Strength fades. Exactly. An army famously marches on its stomach. Without basic sustenance, even the most powerful force is neutralized. It shows the absolute primacy of this need.
A universal vulnerability.
And conversely, look at situations where populations face widespread hunger or constant fear. What happens? Chaos often ensues. Desperation, crime, irrational behavior. Social order breaks down. These blessings aren't just individual comforts, they're the bedrock of a stable society.
And we all got a taste of this fragility recently, didn't we? With the pandemic.
We certainly did. For many of us, it was the first time we really questioned our food security, seeing empty shelves, worrying about supply chains. And our sense of safety was deeply shaken by an invisible threat, restricting our lives in ways we'd never imagined.
It made you appreciate just going to the grocery store without anxiety or walking down the street without that pervasive fear.
Absolutely. It highlighted how fragile those things we took for granted actually are. It forced a mass reevaluation of what truly constitutes security and provision, making the message of Surat Al-Quraisy incredibly relevant. It was like a global reminder.
A tough reminder, but maybe a necessary one.
And it's worth remembering, too, that Mecca's ability to even have provisions to sustain life in that barren valley wasn't just due to trade. It traces back even further to a prayer.
You mean Prophet Ibrahim's prayer, when he left Hajar and his meal there?
Exactly.
Ugh.
Recorded in Surat Ibrahim, he settled his family in that uncultivated valley near your sacred house, as the Quran says, and he prayed specifically for two things: that Allah would make people's hearts inclined towards them, and that he would provide them with fruits, with sustenance, so they might be grateful.
And that prayer was answered. Spectacular.
Unimaginably so.
Yeah.
The Zamzam, well, the tribes gathering, the trade routes, establishing Mecca as a center, all of it, the fruits, the goods, the very hearts drawn to the Kaaba, can be seen as a direct ongoing answer to that ancient prayer. It shows the power and long-term impact of sincere faith and asking Allah for provision.
A beautiful connection between prayer and provision. Okay, so the Quraysh were given these immense foundational blessings. Food security through trade and physical safety through divine protection and reverence. What then was the expectation? What did Allah ask of them in return?
The command is crystal clear in the surah. فَلْيَعْبُدُوا رَبَّ هَذَا الْبَيْتِ. So let them worship the Lord of this house.
Lord of this house. Not Lord of the worlds or something more general. Why the specific reference to the Kaaba?
Because for the Quraysh, the Kaaba was the immediate, tangible symbol and source of their unique blessings. Their status, their safety, their trade, it was all inextricably linked to their role as custodians of this house and Allah's protection of this house. It was the constant, visible reminder right in front of them.
Ah, so the command ties their worship directly to the source of their specific benefits.
Precisely. It's saying, look, all these advantages you have, they come from your connection to this house. Therefore, worship the one who is the Lord of this house, the ultimate source of those advantages. It makes the obligation undeniable based on their own lived experience.
Makes perfect sense. And the implication is that these blessings weren't just for comfort, right? They were given for a higher purpose.
Absolutely. The stability and safety weren't ends in themselves. They were granted to free the Quraysh from the constant worry of basic survival. Freedom from that anxiety wasn't meant for laziness or more materialism. It was meant to free up their minds and hearts for the real purpose, worshiping Allah and taking care of his house.
So prosperity is meant to facilitate devotion.
Ideally, yes. It's a test, really. When blessed, do you get more entangled in the world, or do you use that ease to deepen your connection to the source of the blessing?
Like that story you told about the physician who chose to work less.
Exactly. He had the potential to earn much more, but he consciously chose enough wealth because he valued his time for worship, family, and learning more than accumulating excess money that would just consume more of his time and focus. He saw prosperity as a tool to facilitate his real purpose, not as the purpose itself.
That's such a powerful way to look at it. Redefining success. It really speaks to the psychology of gratitude, too. Worship flows from appreciating the blessings.
It really does. A heart softens when it recognizes and values the gifts it receives. If someone struggles to feel close to Allah, maybe finds worship difficult, it could be linked to simply not noticing or valuing the constant stream of blessings, focusing instead on perceived lacks. For the Quraysh, with such obvious miraculous favors, the expectation for gratitude for that soft heart was incredibly high.
Which leads to a subtle but pointed message in the surah, not just for them, but for us too, right? It feels like a challenge.
It does. The way the surah addresses the Quraysh in the third person, let them worship, while being recited to them, is a known rhetorical technique called tarid. It's a kind of indirect address, maybe with a touch of gentle irony or reproach.
Why use indirect address?
It subtly highlights their negligence. It's like saying, look at these people receiving all these favors right in front of them, yet they're not responding as they should. It forces self-reflection, both for them and, by extension, for anyone who hears or reads it later.
And that's where we come in.
Exactly. The challenge turns to us. If the Quraysh, living in that harsh environment but given those specific, undeniable blessings, were expected to be deeply grateful, what about us? Many of us live with far greater ease, decades of relative peace, food overflowing in stores, personal safety we barely think about.
Are we truly grateful? Or have we just become numb to it? Complaining about minor issues while ignoring the massive foundation of blessings we stand on.
It's a critical question. Do we take it all for granted? And perhaps sometimes the small difficulties we face are actually gentle reminders from Allah, nudging us to wake up, to see the immense good we do have, and to cultivate that gratitude that might have faded.
It's a profound call for self-assessment. Has we forgotten the value of the basics?
So this short surah becomes this incredibly profound mirror for all of us across time. It urges us to look deeply, to reconnect our devotion to a genuine appreciation for the most fundamental gifts: food, safety, security. It's about shifting our perspective from chasing more to valuing what truly sustains us.
So wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway? If armies depend on food and the rich find wealth useless without safety, what should we be focusing on?
It really pushes you to ask, is my main drive just accumulating more stuff, more status, things that are ultimately fragile? Or is my focus on cultivating deep gratitude for the foundational blessings of that way, the food, the safety, the health that actually allow me to live, to function, to connect with Allah, the giver of these blessings?
So the next time you feel that anxiety, that sense of lack, maybe the antidote is to pause.
Exactly. Pause. Look at the food you have access to. Think about the roof over your head, the basic peace you likely experience compared to so many others. really feel the wealth inherent in just those things.
That sense of fundamental wealth.
Recognizing that, truly internalizing it, that's the starting point for real gratitude, real contentment, and a much deeper relationship with the one who provides it all.
A powerful place to end. Thank you for joining us on the Deep Dive. Until next time, keep reflecting, keep learning, and maybe take a moment today to truly appreciate the basics.